Read, listen, and filter. Read blogs, read books, listen to podcasts, listen to people's questions. People's questions will reveal so many other things because people's questions will reveal their logic, and use that logic to filter all of the information that you need in order to get to your own conclusions. If you get to that, your own identity on what are the questions that you want to answer to and what are the answers to your own questions, then I think you're doing a brilliant job. And I think this is the hardest thing to do overall. Just know who you are.
Hello and welcome to the Shiny New Object podcast. My name is Tom Ollerton. I'm the founder of Automated Creative, the creative effectiveness ad tech platform. And this is a podcast about the future of data-driven marketing. We have done hundreds of these podcasts over the last 7 years, and it's been a massive highlight of my career to be able to interview some of the industry's most interesting and insightful leaders. And this week is no different. I'm on a call with Corina Bordeianu, who is social media insights principal at booking.com. We just had a 10-minute conversation about how to say Corina's name, and it's not quite right. But anyway, Corina, so for anyone who doesn't know you or how to pronounce your name, could you tell us all and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. So, Corina Bordeianu, the right Romanian pronunciation. I'm originally from Romania, raised in Bucharest, but also in other parts of Romania, like Sibiu, if anybody knows Sibiu, and also Brăila. But I'm definitely identifying myself as a Bucharest woman. I've been studying psychology. I've been studying advertising in Bucharest, and for many reasons that have to do with the political system and the health system in Romania, I've decided to emigrate. So I've lived in Dublin, and I lived also in Amsterdam for the past 10 years. So yeah, not necessarily Amsterdam, different part of the Netherlands, but anyway, working in Amsterdam. And I am doing social media, working within social media for a long, long time. I think I will reveal my age at this point, but it's fine. So I'm working in social media since 2009, 2010. I think my Twitter account, ex Twitter account, will show you that I'm 2008, I think. Anyway, I've worked with Facebook communities, I've worked with Facebook groups, I've worked with Facebook pages, and I am at this moment analyzing all of our content that goes publicly on the Booking.com accounts because I'm working for Booking.com. And I can tell you, the content and the strategy and the entire social media context is changing so fast. Every 6 months, there's a change. Every 6 months, I'm not kidding you. We need to keep up with all of the changes. But I think that's why I like it so much, because I'm a big fan of change. I've done big changes in my life. The only change that I haven't done is living and marrying my husband, 26 years that we're together. And yeah, super exciting topics to talk about with you, Tom. So thank you for inviting
Indeed,
me.
indeed. Yeah, thanks for coming on the show. So, question: are you a marketing book person? Do you read up on the wider industry, or do you just learn all by practice?
So there's a lot that I learned by practice, definitely a lot. And I wouldn't be lying to you when I'm saying I'm very grateful about the job that I have at Booking.com, because the difference in between what I was seeing in Romania, in Bucharest or Dublin, and what I'm experiencing right now at Booking.com is huge. Just because the company has a vision, the company has for sure budgets allocated to that vision, and every time that we need to start a new project, we need to deliver well, think about the impact. But once you have the impact and once you have the first test done and they prove to be okay, then you can start working. And it's super fun to see small projects turning into really big projects that influence not only the company, but also how consumers see us. And yeah, that's why I really love it. And in terms of books, I can tell you that I read. I don't have that much time right now because I have a toddler, but I still read. However, when recommending a book, and this is a bit of a sensitive topic for me, but I'll tell it nevertheless. When recommending a book, I actually tend to just not do it because people look at me like I'm a nerd. Like, oh my God, you're reading. Like, yes, and I've been reading good books, the books that fulfill my interest for a long time. I just feel that that's the way that we can develop ourselves. More books than any other type of information that we can consume, but that's my preference. So I do read books. I have recommendations, but I also listen to podcasts, and I also have really good conversation recommendations on podcast as well.
So what are the marketing books that you recommend most often? Or what is your
So
favorite book, I should say?
the most recent readings, I haven't finished the books, but I will tell you that
Come on, what
these
is it?
these books are going to change lives. At least for me, they did. So I don't know if you know, there was at the Diary of a CEO, there was a person who was invited who talked about loads of things, including life, Chase Hughes, and he has written a few books. The one that I'm reading at this moment is the Ellipsis Manual, and it's literally about human behavior because he has been working within, well, governmental positions. I won't reveal the topic. People that want to read, they also need to check a little bit. I'd say start with the podcast from the Diary of a CEO with Chase Hughes, and then you'll see if this is the book for you. This is one recommendation. And he also has a book that costs 300 euros, and I'm still debating with myself if I need that book.
So for the purposes of the podcast, I'm gonna need to get into the ellipsis manual, right? So some people will go and buy it immediately, but some people won't. Some people aren't going to read it. What is the main thing you've taken from the ellipsis manual that you've applied to data-driven marketing?
So I won't give you three, I'll give you just one because it ties back to a topic that I'm very much interested in because it's connected to the downsides of using social media, and that's yeah, it's around suicide basically, where there's no correlation at this moment in between social media influencing the behavior of a suicidal person. And by the way, I think the teenagers nowadays, they are not referring to suicide as, they're not using this term, they're using instead the term of unlife. So it's not about suicide, but it's about unlife. I hope I get this right. And the most important thing from this book is like literally what the person that picks up the phone when somebody calls a suicidal line, what is the first thing that they're doing? That's a turning point for every teenager or middle-aged
What
man.
do you mean? What are they doing?
What the interviewer is saying, what the person that it's basically a psychologist or trained within psychology, what they are doing is acknowledging their identity. And one
So sorry,
key
just to clarify,
question,
they they,
yeah,
they are asking, what are you doing now?
no, imagine that somebody called the line. In the Netherlands, the line is 113. And when the person who picked up the line enters into a conversation with the other person that wants to commit suicide, literally the first things that they're going to say are going to switch the behavior of the suicidal person. And this might be from a scale from 1 to 5, how serious are you on committing suicide? And they will say like 5. And then the interviewer would no, they would say 4 because they're not yet completely decided that they want to do it. That's why they called. And then the interviewer would ask, but why not 5? Can you tell me what would get you to be a 5? And that's switching literally the thinking, the behavior, and it's a shift on, first of all, the identity that you assume for that person, and then what are they going to do, and then starting that conversation on a level of I get you, I understand you, but not with these exact words. It just sets the call that person for success. And yeah, just kudos to anybody who's working for a suicidal line. I think you're doing a good job, even though you can't track if they're doing a good job.
Well, I think by providing the service, that's a good job, right?
Yeah,
If no one provides
yeah,
a service, there's no chance of improvement, right? And actually, we released our own book last year, and one of the big learnings I had from the book was that in a world of abundant data from social media, from marketing in general, we mistake abundant data for important data, and sometimes there is no data on the thing that matters, and so everyone assumes the thing that you could get in a nice spreadsheet or a dashboard from a platform is the most important thing. No, it's the most abundant thing. And the
yeah,
most important thing may not be measurable at all, right? And so sure, the person on the phone can't track whether it's actually stopped someone committing suicide or not, but the most important bit of data is the service is there that can provide help for some people, we hope. So thank you for going into detail on that. That is fascinating. So you're clearly well read and well listened. So what is your best bit of advice for a data-driven marketer to become a better data-led marketing
yeah.
person?
Go go to university for sure. It helps. It doesn't help to 100% to get also the right job, but what definitely helps, and it helped me, especially nowadays where we're in this AI speed, velocity, run faster than anybody else, is to self-educate. So take all of the concepts that you've learned in the university, take all the methodologies for building a business case, for example. And I do know that, yeah, psychology versus administration would have a different way of writing business cases, but in the end, it's literally the concept is very similar. Apply that geometry of thought into the projects that you're running. You need to understand why you're doing a certain thing. You need to understand how do you want to get, where do you want to get. You need to understand where you want to get with that project. You need to have a short-term vision and a long-term vision. And I guess, yeah, use AI. I'm using AI a lot in my work. We were just having a conversation before starting the podcast that I've discovered that I have a really good friend, AI companion from Zoom. It's literally unbelievable what you can do with Zoom, with Gemini, Claude for sure, ChatGPT for sure. So there are lots of tools that can enable you to do the work in a proper way. I'd say if I were to put everything into a quote like Eat, Pray, Love, not a book or a movie that I've watched, just it's this concept. Eat, Pray, Love. For me, the structure would be read, listen, and filter. Read blogs, read books, listen to podcasts, listen to people's questions. People's questions will reveal so many other things because people's questions will reveal their logic, and use that logic to filter all of the information that you need in order to get to your own conclusions. Your literally what's the core of what do you want to do. If you get to that, your own identity on what are the questions that you want to answer to and what are the answers to your own questions, then I think you're doing a brilliant job. And I think this is the hardest thing to do overall. Just know who you are.
So we're at the halfway stage now, and we're now going to talk about your shiny new object, which is pendulum intel, right? And I think out of 320 odd podcasts, this is the second time where a shiny object has been a startup, a
Mhm.
business. So Pendulum Intel, you, my friends, have hit the jackpot. But I've never even heard of Pendulum Intel. So please tell me everything about those guys.
Yeah, that's their website indeed. Funny enough, I think what was it? 2 years ago, I didn't know about them, or 1.5 years ago, they've reached out to somebody in my team, and Carly was really good in just sending this over, like, "Hey, Corina, there's a new tool that's well, maybe it will catch your attention." I've been reading and trying to find vendors that can do speech to text. I'm an avid user of Sprinkler here at Booking.com. We're using Sprinkler a lot for many use cases. We're using it basically as an end-to-end tool. But where this project really stands out, it's a whole project for me because we're doing social intelligence, cultural intelligence, and social listening with them. Where this project product stands out is on the fact that it can get you the videos where your brand is talked about, and it can also get you the transcript of those videos. And I can tell you that there's a huge change in human behavior from writing into what the platforms just like Meta and TikTok and YouTube have done in the past years. They are allowing people to film themselves. They are encouraging people to film themselves. I think YouTube has the best way and the best model to do that because they're encouraging creators. Also, they're incentivizing them. But it's with this tool, we can get not only the text data, we can still create Boolean queries and use the and not or, the parameters and not or. But besides that, we're giving prompts to the tool, and we can discover things that literally are being said about Booking.com or about other brands within category, outside category, trying to understand how do people interact with video content. That's the main hypothesis. How do they interact with video content and how they are expressing themselves differently in video versus in text. And we have different experiments going on. I have a Reddit experiment where definitely people are using a lot of text, and we know already how to talk to users online, to Reddit users. We have a customer support team. Don't please do not go now, right now on Reddit to ask loads of questions. Everything is triaged based on priorities, but we know how to talk to people on Reddit as well. We need to understand more and more how people are using video content and how are they creating their own content, because that way of expressing themselves will influence also the way we are creating our content for our own campaigns, or it will influence the level of insights that we will get when people are talking about a certain brand. And yeah, that's why I think they're really good. And because that's one shiny object, but I can tell you that there are already other vendors offering this type of service. And one of them was actually acquired by Sprinkler. So we'll be demoing another tool quite soon to see if it has the same impact as Pendulum Intel has.
So really what this kind of technology has done is found an even more richer source of consumer intelligence other than the written word, right? So I used to work at We Are Social years ago.
I know.
That was all social listening, right? And it was all Sysamos and all that kind of stuff. No, that's still going. And that was, yeah, it was largely all written word, but this is going in this infinity of video. Where is my brand showing up? What is the context within which it's showing up, and what can I learn? So that's wonderful. But can you tell me how, like an anecdote or a story where you've used that? So you had a hypothesis, you looked at the data, you found an insight, you passed that insight on, and then that became something else. Without
Yeah.
giving away trade secrets, help me
Well,
understand how it.
that's the
That's
thing.
the trick.
It's
Well,
very tricky to answer this question, but I can tell you this much, and this is again, this is common knowledge. I know it's common knowledge. The way people are using TikTok versus the way people are using YouTube is completely different. So also within our own content creation, we need to be aware, of course, of the length of the video that's important. TikTok being very, very, very short, and YouTube definitely encouraging a longer format. But also within this length, there are certain parameters that need to be thought. Just to give you an example, for TikTok, the pacing needs to be fast. Meanwhile, for YouTube, and now I'm referring not necessarily to an ad, but to content created for a brand. So not 30 seconds ad that you need to put in for performance marketing reasons. But if you are a brand that also needs to have a good organic presence, the way you're creating the, let's say, the corporate video for TikTok is completely different than the YouTube video. The angle where you're shooting from is completely different, because you have like literally TikTok is so
Point and shoot,
literally you
nine
point and shoot.
916.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
point and shoot angle. Meanwhile, for YouTube, no, it's just you need a proper setup. You need the landscape part, and you need a storytelling that works for a longer format. And when you script for TikTok, you need a story to be scripted for literally a short format. And again, this is not a 30-second, 15-second, 6 seconds ad. This is for a brand that needs to have an organic presence where they will create this type of content, I don't know, twice a year, 3 times a year. I don't have a recommendation necessarily. It really depends on each brand, but it's important to have rules of the platform in mind and create the content with the on the channel standards. And there are, again, completely different visually.
I'm going to push back on that, right? Because I'm quite like, not massively heavy user of TikTok and YouTube probably as much as anyone else. And what I find is that I see these two things. I see best practice from the platforms. Like, this is best practice, right? And then when I'm on the platforms, ads stand out a mile, like a
To you,
mile.
to you.
Ah, come on, man. Like, and I'm like a nearly 50-year-old guy, as if they don't stand out. Like, as if like a Gen Z or what, a Gen Alpha, Gen Z can't understand the difference between human being content and an advertising content. Because, and this is my pet theory, is because brands go, this is what you should do on this platform. So therefore we should do that. And so what they do is they conform after the habit has been made. So, for example, if lots of creators create content with a very high energy jump cut whereby it's changing every 0.3 seconds, right?
Yeah.
So what a brand could do is go, the trend is to do these jump cuts every 0.3 seconds, right? And then, but by the time they've written the brief for the agency, sent it off, done a shoot, done the edit, blah, 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 it's moved on. It's totally moved on. So tell me why that's horribly wrong.
It is, because the whole process needs to be much faster than this. And with AI, including creatives created with AI, but also with an agency like We Are Social, because we're working with We Are
They are
Social.
your agency. They are. There you go.
Yes.
My old friends.
Yeah, yeah. Well, greetings from Paul Greenwood, I guess. You would know him.
Gosh, I was not expecting to talk about Paul Greenwood. I know him very well. Hi, Paul. Brilliant.
So, so you need to be fast with social media content. It literally needs to be a machine. You can't expect a brief to land on the agency today and to have the asset 2 weeks later. You can't. And this will continue to change while many brands will continue to use more and more AI to create assets. And that's literally another talking point that I could go. Well, I couldn't go for hours. I don't know that much, but I could definitely talk about it. Users right now, what I feel, I don't have a study. I want to do a study about this. Users right now, sometimes when the creative is not good, they will feel that it's AI created and they will comment on it and they will trash it. Literally, it happens to many brands. But good AI created content, which has humor, which has a humor that is good for Meta versus a humor that is good for TikTok, because the persona of the brand will have, let's say, a trait for TikTok as it will have a trait for Instagram. They will be a little bit different. They'll be the same persona as in Booking.com, but the consumer trait that we need to portray in an ad for TikTok will be slightly different than one for Instagram. Not in everything, don't judge us. Maybe you'll see ads that work on both platforms because we can also repurpose content, but we tend to have a certain voice for TikTok, a certain voice for Meta, and that's important also because cross usage within platforms is so much different. I'm looking for something when I go on TikTok. I'm looking for something completely different when I go on Instagram as a personal behavior. So going back to your question and yeah to your comment, more important, it's fundamental to get the differences in between the channels. And it's fundamental for a brand to know their audience. I know that everybody speaks about this. I'm not saying this is not rocket science. Everybody speaks that you need an audience, but the way you craft the audience for a platform needs to have the platform's choices for your audience. And we can work with multiple audiences, not needed to be only one. We can have multiple audiences, therefore traits and yeah, little details can change based on what do we want to portray. And that's
Yeah,
creative only.
I think it's been interesting to hear this idea that speed, fast turnaround, and the only way you can do that really these days is with AI. But if you do it completely on AI, you're going to get called out and burned. So, and we said even before the call, it's AI plus human. It's that understanding. Isn't that the problem with AI, that we're so in an industry where overwhelm is so prevalent? So prevalent. Speed is so exciting, right? You look at my to-do list, you look at how many hours you've got to do that to-do list, and if you can press a Claude button or a Gemini button and ping, there's a deck, or ping, there's a whatever, it's so impossible, almost impossible to say no to it. But I'm finding I have my own pendulum, I guess, if you like, where I go really hard on AI, and then it doesn't deliver what I need, and then I go back to being human. Like, this morning I did I had AI look at the transcript and go, this is what you need to do next. And I was like, based on what's going on in America with the government, with Anthropic, I'm just like, and they're doing an IPO, they need to show some form of path to profitability. The quality of the models is going down and the price is going up. So I'm like, I now don't trust that enough. And I just went back and listened to the transcript myself. And it was like so rich to hear
Yeah.
someone's voice and the intonation of the way that they said certain things and their pacing, blah, blah, blah. So I went back and I was able to brief the team saying, I know that this person said this thing, whereas I could have whacked it into an LLM and got this sort of, very quick thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the transference of intelligence wouldn't have been as good.
So there's something to be said there. And second book recommendation, humans in the loop will be a thing. The way we're using AI will have to be supervised by humans, and the legislation will ask for it. The European legislation is very tough on humans in the loop. You can't just allow the machine to do actions without the human to acknowledge that action. That's a very important, I'd say, caveat, legal caveat.
But isn't it's interesting? I've found the thing I've struggled with, where people are using AI as a badge of honor or an ass covering machine. So people go, oh, I've got Anthropic to do this, I've got Gemini to do this, so therefore it's good because it's AI. So
No,
they
it's not.
and they put it down, or they go, or they put it down and it's shit, and they go, oh well, the AI did it. Do you know what I mean? So they're either using it to say how good it is, or justify that it's not very good. And we're addicted to, and the speed is producing these two new problems, right?
So what I'd say, so I'm an avid listener of podcasts, but I stopped. And I stopped because it was clouding my judgment. So instead of listening every day to podcast, I'm listening once a week, twice a week. And instead, I am replacing podcasts with music. So if you have a music song recommendation for me, just go ahead. I like music, but also books are super important. Just go and read Demi Hasabi's the Infinite Machine. It's a must for anybody who wants to understand how artificial intelligence started. And then whenever you have a project, whenever you have something that involves AI, think about your logic. Think about the logic that you want to apply. Of course, studying logic and studying philosophy would be really important to have it on the back of your mind. But if you haven't done that, as I didn't, I've studied philosophy a little bit in during the high school, and I read some philosophers, but I don't know a lot. But having the logic and having the reasoning to support you, those would be key in understanding how to use AI. If there's no logic, if you think that your logic is not really good, think about if you need to improve the logic first. And then yeah, you'll see if you're on the right way, on the right path with AI. And yeah, AI can also tell you if your logic can be changed, but just listen to your heart and your intuition, and then you'll know if they, it, she, whatever are right, if AI is right.
So, Corina, we've got to leave it there. We've run over so horribly, but only because I found it so interesting. So there you go. So very, very quickly, where can someone get in touch with you, and what makes a message you reply to?
I have my LinkedIn profile for sure. It's up, it's public. All of my other accounts except the Twitter X account. Twitter is public.
But what would make you reply to someone?
This is on the good logic.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you also, Tom, and have a good day.